Hey everybody, Doc Parsley here. I wanted to talk today about sleep and pain. It's actually a bidirectional relationship. We know that when you don't sleep enough, you experience more pain, something called your pain threshold, which is your ability to sense and tolerate pain, goes down. So your ability goes down, which means you're experiencing more pain throughout the day. Unfortunately, there's also this bidirectional relationship, whereas if you're in a lot of pain during the day, one, you end up with a lot of excess stress hormones, which causes a lot of its own problems, including more pain. But oftentimes chronic pain interferes with sleep. And then you don't get good sleep, and then your pain threshold goes down, which means you're in more pain the next day, which means you have more stress hormones, and then you don't sleep as well again. And it's really easy to get into a situation where it feels impossible to get out of. Now, when we talk about pain threshold, this is done in clinical settings where they're just questioning people about their pain, but we also do research on that. And when we do research on it, don't worry, we're not like really harming people, we aren't injuring anybody to cause pain. There's things you do, just putting your hand on something warm that progressively gets hotter, and at what temperature does it become uncomfortably hot to where you pull your hand off, or putting your hand in a bucket of water until, like ice cold water, until it's so cold that you can't stand it anymore. And that's what we call your pain threshold. So no big surprise if that's related. One of the best things that you can do to decrease the amount of pain that you're dealing with during the day, and just to decrease like your sensation of pain doing working out, or exercising or any type of activity, even if you're not in chronic pain when you're just sitting around, if doing your normal day-to-day things cause you pain, you can reduce that by getting better sleep. Something else you can do to decrease your pain is decrease your overall inflammation. Decreasing overall inflammation, by and large, comes from eating a pretty healthy diet, and what we call a low inflammatory diet. You've probably all heard at this point about the gut biome, and if you eat certain foods, it changes the bacteria in your gut, which then can make your gut leak. And when your gut leaks, you're essentially leaking little bits of feces into your bloodstream, which causes an inflammatory response and causes your nervous system to kind of ramp up, and it makes you more sensitive to pain, and makes you more likely to develop an immune response to something in your own body, which is where autoimmune disorders come from, things like psoriasis. So all of that is associated with poor sleep and poor diet. Now, there are lots of other things that can cause pain. It's probably safe to say there's millions of cell signaling molecules, which is like little short molecules that affect your sensation of pain all over your whole body, which is largely controlled by your nervous system, which is all over your whole body. So anything that you do that decreases stress hormones can decrease the amount of pain that you're experiencing, because being overly stressed unbalances the nervous system and therefore makes you more susceptible to pain. So doing things like meditation, that balances your nervous system out better. You can do calming activities, walking in nature, the sounds of water, or like flowing water, all of these things that we know of. Whatever type of meditation you like to do, mindfulness training, aromatherapy. There's actually really interesting research on aromatherapy. I saw a study with they did with rats, and they did aromatherapy with rats, and then I used to do this in college. You put them on this little glass plate, and they're in a little cube, a plexiglass cube, so you can see them, and they're walking around on glass, and you can move this little light bulb underneath their little paws, and at some point it gets so hot and they move their hand up, and you time how long that takes, and it's called their latency period, how long from the time you start burning till they move their foot. And then we're researching opioids, which are opium-like compounds, up into including opium, and that's what most of the pain medications you've heard about people being addicted to, and that's what heroin is. These are all forms of opioids. And there was interesting research when they gave rats aromatherapy with lavender, It had, at about 30 minutes, it had the same what we call analgesic effect, which means decreasing pain or increasing pain threshold or decreasing pain. About 30 minutes, an opioid, I don't remember which one it was, maybe Oxycontin, oxycodone, I don't know. One of the opioids and lavender oil was about the same at 30 minutes. The only difference was that the opioids lasted longer. So around an hour, there's a big difference, but for the first 30 minutes is about the same. The point of that being is that we know your sensation, your ability to process, processing your environment is done in a region of your brain called the hypothalamus. And that's directly connected to your sense of smell. This, what's called the olfactory bulb, can actually do it can skip the processing. It's not connected, that's a dumb thing to say. It can skip the processing of the hypothalamus, and it actually affects pain receptors somehow. We're not really sure. So the hypothalamus kind of takes in all the sensations around your body and makes sense out of them, and your sense of smell can skip all that, which is why it's so powerful at enhancing memory recall from smell. So short of all that is, if you are dealing with chronic pain, make sure you're getting good sleep, make sure you're eating a low inflammatory diet, which by and large is all of the things that we know interfere with gut biome and lead to inflammation around the gut. So that'd be things like gluten, you've all heard of that. And then, if you really have some suspicions that you're sensitive to things, you can be tested for reaction to everything from strawberries to nuts to different weeds and grasses that might be used as flavoring in products that you're consuming. So sleep, nutrition, and then control your stress. And you can control your stress again through meditation, through yoga, through movement, walking in nature, and even by what you smell. So give that all a try. Hopefully we can decrease your pain and convince you to sleep more as well. Thanks.